So I think there are a couple of big opportunities. I think it starts with making sure that either individual companies or collaborations like Transcelerate articulate an end-to-end strategy, right? So patient-centricity shouldn't just be about point solutions in different parts of the clinical trials enterprise, but there ought to be a vision for what end-to-end patient engagement looks like that includes patient groups' input into the development of that end-to-end strategy. So what do I mean by that? It shouldn't just be about, well, how can we make people more aware so that they could enroll, or it shouldn't be about how can people communicate via social media during a trial, and it shouldn't just be about how do we get them the results, but it should be all of those things. If we're going to ask more of them, if we're going to ask them to participate in trial design, then we should be able to engage with them during the trial in a way that we haven't in the past. If we're going to ask to monitor them via sensor wear and gadgets and tablets and phones 24/7 over the course of a clinical trial, the way we have in the past, and ask them to share all kinds of data and their electronic health records, then we owe it to them to get them their trial results in a timely fashion. So I think two pieces is one, an end-to-end strategy, which includes their input. And the second is to do as much by collaboration as possible. Because I think for each individual company to create their own solution is just going to layer more complexity and more burden on patients than less. And so that's why I'm thrilled to see that Transcelerate has taken up this as one of their core work streams. So I think the application of big data analytics will help. It ought to inform the development of clinical trial protocols in a way that it hasn't in the past. So Ken Getz, who presented this morning, has published some data around protocol amendments. 66% of all phase 2, phase 3 studies undergo some sort of amendment, and 45% of those are around inclusion-exclusion criteria or recruitment challenges. I think big data analytics will also help to drive decision-making that'll streamline clinical trials. So I think one of the places we're trying to get to with Transcelerate's Common Protocol Template is how can it consume that information? How could it make it really clear where we're introducing more complexity than you need to, and we're collecting more information than you need to? So that's one way that I think technology will help. I think things like sensor wear and things like e-clinical outcomes assessments can start to take us to a place where patients can start to participate in clinical trials in whatever represents normal for their daily life, either by leveraging information that's already in their electronic health record or by collecting information remotely via telemedicine or sensors, et cetera. I think making sure that we don't layer individual solutions that are unique to either individual companies or individual CROs would be one way. So sharing those solutions across would be one way. And then I think sort of evolving this common vision of what clinical trials should look like in the future would be a second. I think some of these mergers and acquisitions that are taking place need to play themselves out because people are just going in different directions with some of these things. Some CROs are evolving themselves into be a data company, which if you think about the evolution of real-world evidence makes a lot of sense. Others are looking at more point solutions around different technical challenges. And so I think there's still some time for that to play out to see what that actually means. We really have to take out the complexity that's been over-engineered into these clinical trials. We're just fundamentally asking too much. And so I think the faster we can figure out how to make use of information that's already available through electronic health records, for example, the more that we can find the right settings to introduce sensor wear, we'll do a couple of things. One is it will reduce the burden on sites. It'll reduce the burden on patients to provide information. It'll collect information in a way that doesn't put burden on patients. But clearly, the numbers of patients we enroll in each site today as a function of the protocol complexity itself is not sustainable. So I think that you will see I think you'll see companies try to do more in that real world evidence space. I think you will see technology companies try to evolve things that look like electronic health record connectors of sorts. And I think you will see a further evolution of the integration of sensorware and social media into the clinical trials enterprise.